This particular project was coordinated by Creative Road to incorporate some of the women and men who work at the hospitals to create artworks that would be used, as you can see behind me, and also artworks framed for the hospital. So I'm going to give everybody a piece of paper. Because it's quite a hands-on experience and not too complicated, I try to make them relax about not having any preconceived ideas about what the outcomes would be, and that every piece would be a surprise, and that's part of the joy of doing this process. I'm just going to try and slice this very thin. You'll notice that this is such a strong colour that it immediately makes a mark on the page. They would go into my garden and do a little bit of foraging, hunting and gathering. Then we'd go back to the papers and perhaps add a little bit of onion skin and possibly some purple carrot, and then create an arrangement of those plant forms onto the paper.
Oh, gorgeous.
One of the great things that occurred during these workshops was that there was a real bonding between some of the participants who had come from different hospitals. It's transformed into this beautiful gold. It was a really great chance to meet each other, do something creative that allowed them to get to know each other in a really new and interesting way. Look at that. Communal project. It's so good.
I think I like the darker colours. The dark's gorgeous. I like it dark.
They look great, don't they?
Wow. How fabulous. Here we've got two pieces that are really at the scale I hardly imagined. A sort of organic quality, even though it's, hard glass and film. The colours are very subtle and quite muted. They certainly create a real impression when you walk into the room. The scale of these is what I find really amazing. This, for example, is a eucalyptus leaf, which would probably have been about that big.
The project is the Zen Garden for the Byron District Hospital. We sort of to and froed a few ideas and thought some screening and some seating could make it a functional piece of artwork.
The title of the artwork I've given it is called The Gratitude of Being. The entrance screen is based on the Byron Bay hinterlands and the beautiful landscapes and the mountains there. And then on the main screen, that artwork is based on kind of like an aerial view of Byron Bay coastline, and that's overlapped with three different, like the same view in three different aspects. And so it's just speaking about the humbleness and the healing properties of the earth and the coastline and water.
The thing with the screens is it's a perforated metal technique. When you're looking at it up close, you just see this pattern of random dots. But when you stand away from it and the image becomes one, you see the full image. And once the brain acknowledges there's an image there, you can step right up to it and you see the elements of the image. It's almost like semi-optical illusion. Having the counterbalance of the timber surrounded by the natural garden, those elements just sort of balance each themselves and create a sort of like a neutral zone for that healing space.
Coming up with the design for the totem pole, I knew that I had these words that I wanted them to say. Finding words that would be suitable to use in this setting, so words such as gratitude, spiritual, healing, well-being, just to give the space a sense of self-reflection on what they mean to the people who are in that space at the time. The audience that come in to the space can actually just take a moment to breathe and to actually just sit and understand what the artwork's about, but not just that, just contemplate and reflect on themselves and to feel at peace, to feel at ease, to feel a sense of relaxation and understanding of their being.
Currently we're in the reception area, and this wall is going to feature a bunch of fictitious characters I've made up. The idea is to provide some friendly distraction for the children. Coming to hospital might be a bit of an intimidating experience for them. So my idea was just to provide a little bit of light and friendliness and try and create an environment in which they don't feel intimidated. They feel nice and safe. Each have their own name, and this one here is Mr. Lockwood. This one can't get enough polka dots. And we'll add more. The idea was to incorporate some traditional medicinal healing herbs and plants. So Mr. Lockwood's offering a rose, which is good for the heart and good for love, as we all know. So it's quite nice if you're in hospital. Miss Aloe Vera, she has aloe vera growing out of her head, which is known to be a really great healing herb for skin burns and all sorts of skin conditions. This little lady up here is going to have chamomile sprouting out of her head. Chamomile is a good calming herb. I think a lot about the healing properties of colours when I'm painting. It's fun doing kids art because I get to pull out all the polka dots and stripes that I like. Just friendly characters that the children can relate to. Ideally, I'm going to have some on the ground level that maybe the kids can go up and kind of measure themselves against, and I'm trying to do life-size characters that kids can interact with. This is the children's playpen area of the emergency department. I've painted some birds, just whimsical birds, and some aloe vera, calendula, which has got many healing properties, a few fictional little flowers, a gum tree just to bring in that Australianness. I'm really enjoying it. I am used to painting alone in my studio with no one around, just birds and frogs. So it's quite different having the beeps of the hospital or the beeping doors and the people and the tours coming through of inductions, but it's really fun.
The artwork that we're making here is called sea glass, and we're making a mosaic really. It's going to be suspended in a stairwell, so we're making a work for a very light place that's got constant east-west light. The idea of actually being in a hospital is actually really rewarding. Being in a public place and being in a place where there's a real possibility that the effect can be quite comforting and pleasurable.
We are so surrounded by the incredible Pacific Ocean, and each piece represents a small part that you take from the beach, the healing that we get every day from the ocean.
Some mornings when we were down there at dusk, when these colours of the pearls, where everything is these sort of mint green and this soft pink, and we were thinking of crystals and crystal light, a large wave of colour. I've come to glass really through mosaic and colour because it's just such an incredible medium for colour.
The cutting is a slow process, but we're almost there. Each piece will be carefully wrapped and taken to a kiln where it's fired for about 24 hours. After that, it's sandblasted, which takes the gloss off the glass, and everything becomes much more like sea glass. It's much softer.
Yeah, it's knocked down a tone.
Yeah.
People come here because it's such a powerful healing energy and a beautifully powerful place. So hopefully there's that kind of
translation of that.
Translation, yeah, it would be nice to think so.
I'm working on this grand commission for the main wall of the Byron Bay Hospital. It's about healing, it's about place, it's about notions of how nature can heal people and how we can be connected to environment. I'm going to be overlaying a range of natural remedy bush medicine plants over the surface of the painting as a way of alluding to that notion of bush healing. The colours, well really, they come straight from the light from the landscape. So I'm trying to sort of reflect those colours that I see in the landscape as accurately as I can. The shadows, the early morning light that's hitting the far bank across the water, and just trying to convey an atmosphere of this local region. And so in a way the colours are already determined within the environment. I felt that it would be interesting for me to look at Tioga wetland because the wetland itself has been man-made, artificially constructed through rutile mining, and it's a devastated site actually, but in terms of healing a place, it's a really interesting place now. It's beautiful and it has a lot of Melaleuca wetlands, it has a lot of Melaleuca trees around it, and it provides a fantastic space for people to go and spend some time in the natural order of things, chill out, slow down and reconnect with themselves and their surrounds. I think the Tyagra wetland has been interesting for me because it's a site that itself has needed healing. I hope that this work will generate a feeling of tranquility and rest and peacefulness as a way of sort of trying to evoke a visual sense of healing. Health and well-being is very important, vital for the people that will be viewing this work. So I want to make something that will somehow try to assist in that healing process.